Hey there everyone, Mazarok here, and today we're going to be discussing power creep. So have you ever been at the table and one session your players were struggling to kill a few enemies and you come back to the next one with a level up or perhaps a new magic item and they're destroying everything way too quickly? Today we're going to discuss what we can do, what we can expect from those power creeps and where they come from. Let's go. Alright, so power creep. What is it specifically? So power creep is what I define as when your players have become way too powerful for the general monsters that are at hand. So balancing changes need to happen. The CR system for monsters is actually a pretty good guideline. I'm not gonna lie. I went through a long phase of not liking it, and then I went back to liking it again, because it's not a definite this is exactly what you should do, but it provides a really good guideline and allows you to change monsters based on the narrative a lot better than perhaps other methods of trying to distinguish exact monster strength for a party. And balancing is one of those things that comes with time from being a DM anyway. You'll kind of learn what your players can and cannot handle, what the party composition can and cannot handle. There's a lot of different variables that go into trying to create that system, where this CR system does a really good job at creating the guidelines, but is bad at being very specific. And I actually prefer it that way, so that's fine there. The first big power creep you're going to come across as a DM is level 5. Level 5 is when your martial classes get their extra attack, and is where spellcasters get level 3 spells. This is the biggest power bump in the game relative to from one level to the next. Of course, level 17 characters are going to be more powerful than level 5, but you're not going to feel the difference from level 16 to 17 as much as you are going to feel levels 4 to 5. That one there, it even surprises me in some campaigns and sessions that I play how much more powerful characters get from that one level up. And it really forces me to start rethinking encounter balance whenever that does happen. So what I'll do, especially with that one, is I'll have extra enemies on standby. It's always good to maybe have a second wave. Perhaps your first encounter thought was, I don't know if this is going to be too difficult. Well, what you can do is you can play it off as, these guys were the first wave distraction. The second ones are getting a little bit more tactical, trying to get in place, and then they can rush in and try and catch your players unaware or things like that. So it's really an encounter balance that you must keep in mind from that perspective. It's built into the rules. Every player is going to feel that level 5 bump. Going from 1 attack to 2 is huge for martial abilities, and level 3 spells are some of the most powerful in the game that keep scaling very well as the game goes on. There's a lot of really good spell choices there. And me, who I enjoy playing spellcasters the most when I do play, that's when I start feeling really good. That levels like 1 through 4 for a wizard, it's fun, but it's tough. Because you have some really good options, of course, but none of them make you feel powerful until you hit level 5 and you choose your 3rd level spells, and you love them. They're really good. They're really fun. So my opinions when you get to this level, when you get that level, is be prepared to alter your encounters. Be prepared to beef your enemies up. Give them a little bit more AC. Give them a little bit more health. There's nothing wrong with doing that. In fact, when I'm playing, I like to choose the monsters for narrative. So there has been times where my level 4 party has fought CR 16 creatures that I've dialed way back because I wanted that specific monster in the story for narrative reasons. So it's very okay to do that. But now's the time where you have to start thinking, well, maybe they're not as tough as, where you might think, oh, they're not that tough. They might be a little bit tougher than what you think they are. So be prepared, have a second wave, and be prepared to kind of beef up some monsters from time to time. It's not going to hurt. If you felt like you've overtuned it, that's fine. You can tune under, so you can tune it down as the combat goes on. Your players will never know. You've already screwed up the monster stat block anyway to fit your designs. I shouldn't say screwed up. You've already altered the monster stat block to fit your design anyway. They're not going to notice whether it had 20 extra HP or 40. You know what I mean? It's not going to change. But if you've set a creature to have 100 HP, personally, I always feel bad if my players kill it really, really fast. I feel bad by adding that HP. I do. It just makes me feel bad. Like, they've worked to kill or take care of what I had planned. That I feel bad. But, so I don't like doing that in combat. But the reverse is true, or the opposite. I don't feel bad if I've overtuned a monster for a fight, and I mean overtuned. I don't feel bad toning it down as the fight goes on and I've realized I screwed up. Like, this tuning is way too powerful for these guys, and it's not fair, and it's going to result in a TPK because of something I did. Like, I'm okay with killing players off. I'm okay with TPKs if they happen. Now, they happen rarely in my games anyway, but if they happen, they're not going to be because I overtuned a fight. Like, that's just not going to happen. But if I honestly believe that players had every single opportunity to win the fight fairly, sometimes dice just go bad. It happens. Sometimes the monster's dice go way too good. That happens. That's fine. That's the name of the game. But if I'm having them fight like an ancient red dragon level creature at level 5, and I think that's okay, if I've tuned it to that, so that's just the idea for level 5. Now, the one that I wanted to get to and be a little bit more serious on, and this is a hard lesson that I had to learn as a DM, was magic items. I love giving my players magic items. I really, really do. But giving your players a lot of magic items and a lot of powerful magic items can severely alter the power creep of the game. It was to a point where my level 9 group from a couple of years ago, they were just wiping the floor with everything. Mind you, I homebrewed magic items tailored to kind of what they do and what they liked and how they saw their characters, and we had a lot of fun doing it, and I don't regret any of that. But I have changed the way I approach giving and handling homebrew magic items as it's gone on, because you eliminate a lot of monster options, because it does, so you can take a low level monster and make it stronger, but at the same time it doesn't make sense for a goblin to have 250 hit points and then have 10 of them. I mean, there are ways for that to make sense, yes, sure, but at the same time it's just weird. So I like having a little bit more control and a little bit more thought process in the planning of my game by watching what I do for magic items. There actually is kind of a weird system built in, and it's a color-coded system, which, you've got uncommon, rares, very rares, and legendaries. Legendaries I don't really give out at all before level 14. Around level 9, 10, my players will start seeing very rares a little bit more commonly. I might have one or two at tier 2, which is 5 to 9, and kind of work with that. So I'm not giving legendary or very rare items at level 4 or 5. I'm just not. You're getting more powerful as this goes on, and that one item can really tilt or just super empower a player character beyond anything else. Number one, they're never going to want to get rid of that item until you give them something more powerful. They're just not. They'd be crazy to. I mean, I would. If you gave me the Black Staff at level 4, my wizard's holding on to that for absolute dear life. There's no way I'm getting rid of it. But that's the idea. So have an idea and plan a little bit more when you're doing magic items, and think of consequences. As well, any homebrew Magic item or change that I introduce into the game, I do this with a warning to the players. Look, I created this. If there is some force, like hindsight that I did not see, and this is broken, we are going to work together to tune it back. What do you like about this ability? And what do you not like about this ability? What's broken about it? And let's work together. Now, saying that, I don't outright nerf those Magic items. If I created it and it's broken under a certain frame rate or something, broken under a certain frame, a certain ability, that's not niche and can be utilized every fight, I will work with the player. It's my mistake. I introduced this Magic item and I shouldn't have at that power level with too powerful an ability. That's my mistake. I'm not going to hurt the player for that. But at the same time, we need to work on balance together. So before giving out these items, talk to your players and say, hey, look, if we find out that something is incredibly broken, we're going to have to scale it back. But work with them when you do. Don't just sweeping nerfs across the board and say this is how it is. Your player feedback and working with your player on that item and coming to an agreement together is a very nice aspect of D&D that is kind of, under the table, sidelined. You don't hear about it talked very much, but at the same time, you're building that relationship with your players. But when you're talking about these nerfs and, balancing, you also get a better understanding of where your player is coming from, what they like, what they enjoy, and you're also getting like secret information that you can use for better Magic items down the road. Something maybe a little bit more balanced, but different, and something your players would really, really enjoy because they obviously enjoy it when you listen to them and you tune things to their liking. So that's really this is more of an opinion piece. I could be completely wrong and you have every right to disagree with me. That is, tell me that in the comments. I'm completely fine with it. But those are just things when you're planning on a campaign, watch out for those. Watch out on that level 5 power creep, because trust me, you will notice the extra attack and 3rd level spells. They get really powerful really fast. So have extra balancing in mind. Be prepared to retune fights mid-fight as that's happening. And second is Magic items. I don't want to say don't give your players lots of Magic items. If that's what you want to do, do it. But be aware that lots of Magic items and lots of powerful Magic items can really blow up a game to a point where level 5, 6, 7 characters can start taking on really hefty CR creatures. But that throws you into a corner as well, because when those players get to 14, 15, 16, those levels where they should be having those encounters, they've already done it 6 levels ago. So you really need to research new monsters, beef up monsters, and work extra hard. So the fun that you're having now, you're going to pay the price for later. So just have that in mind. Your players are going to reach the levels where they need to eventually to get to the big bads or things like that. Unless you really want to use one narratively, that's up to you. But that's really just kind of my thought piece on it, and different ways that you can kind of handle it. Learning to balance encounters is number one, the most important thing that you can do for this power creep. Having to change things on the fly, having to do it slyly, but having to prep them in advance as well. So I'll probably do a later video on kind of what I do to balance encounters, because usually what I do, again, we'll discuss this in a later video. How to balance encounters will be next week's video. And what I do, excuse me. So that's really my thought process on it, is just kind of be aware. These power creeps exist, and it's best to plan out for them in advance. Be aware of the Magic items, work with your players, and don't be afraid to talk to them and work with them on if you have to nerf. It's best to nerf with them and work together to come to a solution than to just cut it right down the middle and be done with it. I stream on Twitch every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. Check out the link in the description box below for scheduling. Sundays is the Rime of the Frost Maiden actual play game. It has been both silly and horrifying all at the same time. It's been a really, really good time, and I've been giving away a dice bag during the breaks. So if you'd like your chance at a free dice bag, come on by on Sundays and say hi. Etsy link is down below if you would like to buy some of those dice bags as well. Patreon, if you need some DM resources, I do have printable spell effects that you can place down on your table. They work really, really nice, and they kind of liven up the battlefield a little bit more. Really, really big fan of them, and I'm working on some all of the time and putting those up as well. So aside from that, I hope you guys have yourselves a great week. Thank you very much.